What is worth fighting for? What is worth fighting for?
All right.
All right.
Let me just hit the record button to be sure.
Sure.
I want to make sure everything is all right. So we're going to show off the camera
Oh yeah. Oh shit.
and test.
Is my nose powdered?
Make sure you take the. Put your clothes on, man. Put your clothes
I
on.
need to put my underwear back on. Shit, I need pants. God damn it!
We'll need to make sure we're synced. Doom, doom, doom. Black screen. And here we are. Welcome everybody to wrap up episode 16. Sweet 16. This is the episode 16. Yes, 16. No, 17. I mean 17. So I can check, but not now. The question is, are we in sync with the voices and all of that? Because
And
you already
Timberlake.
know. I don't think nobody will get that.
Nobody watched Deadpool. Come on, they have to. Like the majority of people probably know from Deadpool.
All right. I can see Arja confirming. Hey, Percy, Arja, welcome.
Thank you for the 57 months, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Hey guys, I can see some chat now from Twitch at least, so that will be good. As I hear, it's all Gucci. Okay, awesome. I can see chat now. Well, just for Twitch at the moment. We're working out a system. Okay, it's an evolving process. I would say.
It's we're getting better every week.
Yes. Well, things have happened.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have. There's still the ongoing struggles of the modern World of Warcraft experience, like with Mythic Plus being in an interesting state, pugging as Flame experienced today.
I mean, that's not necessarily anything new. It's kind of like what we knew, but we always kind of thought that maybe people overreact a little bit, and not really, but there are options. We're going to talk to that as well. But let's say I did not have fun I wouldn't, let's say, I wouldn't have had fun if it wasn't on stream. Let's just say that.
Yeah, well, it's nice when it's all captured live, right? Hey, Tupac, chat. It's all of you lovely folk over there, like Tupac, Arja, Percy, everybody from out. There's also the YouTube chat as well, which I cannot see for the moment, but I will get there. So we can, when we said like we're gonna have like comments and questions and all of that, picked up at the end. That still remains the case. However, if I do see something interesting, I will answer it and edit. Mokti will edit that shit out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, right now people on YouTube are like fighting each other in chat because it's wonderful. Why not have argues about words?
YouTube is the place where fights will take on.
Vanguard says, my favorite thing about WoW is how friendly and non-toxic the community is. Oh, don't we know it?
I mean, that's an interesting topic.
That's an interesting way to showcase sarcasm.
But but for real, like we can get into that maybe in a future episode. When we don't have a lot of things to cover, but we do have a lot of like class changes, tuning mostly that has been going live Tuesday for NA and Wednesday on EU. Yep. So I think like for the most part, Paladins are going to be pretty happy overall, I guess. Not all specs, but I know some of them will be quite happy. We've seen a couple of changes to hunters, to priests. We're gonna go. We're not gonna cover. Yeah, not gonna cover all of them because they're not all that major or important. But as always with this show, we tend to cover classes and specs we like. So it's a democracy.
Also, a bunch of them received like very insignificant buffs, like the 3% extra stuff, which is nice to know that it's better than before. But 1,000 damage is not necessarily amazing before you did 999, right? So it's fine. We're not gonna, nitpick on.
I got 909 damage, but a bitch ain't one hit me. All right, let's get into it.
Associating women with damage.
99.9. So remember where you're streaming, buddy. All right, so first off the gate, as always, we started off with Blood DK, and I'm telling you, they really want Sand Lane to be played. Nobody's playing Sand Lane.
I mean, why would they when you have scythes and exterminates?
Yeah,
and
but still numbers wise,
outside of to be fair, outside of Rider of the Apocalypse, Sand Lane would be the only other DK fantasy that really makes sense for the WoW context. True. And personally, as a fan of Blood, I really geeked out when I heard, Sand Lane. I wonder how they're gonna do Sand Lane.
Yeah, well, look, they're trying.
Remember how it was in beta? No. It was OP as fuck until it got nerfed.
Yeah, and it was OP for Unholy as well. Like if you played Unholy,
11.5% haste. I remember.
Yeah, it was those stacks of haste was
that's
going
like
crazy.
Triple the amount of haste that you get when you just have a fresh level 80. That's crazy.
But regardless, let's check out what they're trying to do to push Sand Lane for people to play it. Okay, so Vampiric Strike damage is increased by 30%. Okay. Infliction of Sorrow now deals 20% of the remaining disease damage to the enemy when it extends its duration. This used to be 15%. Okay. Infliction of Sorrow now deals 130% of the remaining disease damage to the enemy when it consumes it. It was 100%. Visceral Strength now grants 12% strength for 12 seconds. Ooh. This was 8%. This is pretty impactful.
This is probably the biggest thing that I'm seeing here.
Yeah, well, piling up all of them, they're pretty big. And Frenzied Bloodthirst now increases the damage of Death Strike by 6% per stack. Now, do you remember, Death Strike is one of the, if not the biggest damage abilities you have on Blood.
Yeah, it's right? Single target.
So it's definitely like a 1%, but adding it all up with the strength buff and everything in between.
Strength just makes pretty much everything else even better.
Yes, exactly. Now, will this be enough for Blood Decays to switch to Sand Lane? I'm not sure. It's all a matter of doing a lot of damage, which is great, but is it the only thing we care about at the minute?
That's the thing, because I don't know how much. I know you started tanking on Blood, and I know you've been playing. I keep wanting to call it Exterminate. Jesus, it's
what Exterminate?
Brain farts. The other the Reaper, Soul Reaper, whatever it's called.
Deathbringer.
Deathbringer. That's it. But I remember on beta we used to talk with Mandel about Sand Lane. That was when Sand Lane was better than Deathbringer, and Sand Lane also added defensive bonuses to your kit as opposed to Deathbringer, which hardly adds anything. I think you have like something plates that just gives you like flat damage reduction if you keep it up as a buff, and that's about it. But if I recall, Sand Lane is the defensive one. I'm curious to see if once people hit like a particular wall with Blood Decay whenever they're pushing keys, because it's not going to happen in raid, if they would naturally gravitate towards Sandlane for a lot less damage, but maybe more tankiness, maybe this could be the trade-off. So I'm curious to see how it evolves.
They're still focusing a lot, indeed, on the damage component, which is okay in the grand scheme of things. I mean, Blood Decay is not necessarily suffering for the lack of damage. On contraire, like if you pull a big pack and you have everything ready, you're gonna deal some damage. I remember I was pretty impressed with 1 million DPS on a big pack as a Blood Decay. That was crazy, man. So, but that's also like, you know, the Deathbringer whole hero talent situation. Sandlane, I mean, at this point, it could be competitive. We've yet to see some like proper testing or logs from Blood Decays actually pushing Sandlane. There are a couple, but nothing to make any conclusion. I think like Blizzard is trying. It's a matter of time. Like I say, give it a couple of more weeks, and then let's see how how are people like are embracing this whole Sandlane thing. Don't get me wrong. Sandlane on paper feels great, and it's a great team, as you mentioned. Like
it felt when I played on beta, because I haven't played it on live yet. It felt faster. It felt smoother in a way, because your rotation just comes in way quicker. I don't know if it would still feel the same now.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. Overall, Deathbringer still is like the top choice. Mainly because, you know, it provides that consistency across the board. For sure. And they really have to like I think these buffs are okay, but in order for people to actually consider it, they have to buff it even more.
All right.
You know,
we're slowly getting there.
It's a lot of stuff. Also, I want to shout out Lust741 for the Prime. Thank you so much, and salute our boy Tiny, who is a proper Blood Decay as well, like tanking our 10s and stuff. Salute.
He is actually saying that our Sandlane is just more RNG.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
The inconsistency, and I can get that. Like having your survivability, I would imagine he is referring to being RNG is not great for tanks. You don't want to, flip a coin to see, well, am I gonna survive this time? I don't know.
This is exactly what I'm saying. So if you wanna get past that consistent playstyle from Deathbringer, you really want some, almost broken type of damage for Blood.
Okay.
And this is what they're probably trying to push with Sandlane, but we'll see.
We'll see. Fingers crossed, because I'm feeling some Sandlanes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, there's Paravel as well. Hello, Paravel. All right, let's move along. Demon Hunter. We have changes for both Havoc and Vengeance. So this is for Eldrachi River. Remember, Aldrac River. Okay. Wounded Quarry damage increased by 100%. Warblade's Hunger damage increased by 100%. Is this normal? Look it up. Reaver's Glaive damage increased by 15%. So I can see that, Arja, who is like main Havoc DH, says that nobody cares about Eldrachi. That's fair.
Okay.
But these numbers, like 100%, is this like at the point where this was so bad it needed buffs to 100%, or is this like some small tiny?
This is interesting, because I'm a little bit behind on my Demon Hunter, since on the beta Eldrachi was the clear winner in terms of overall damage. Felskar was behind. Everybody was crying that Felskar is too behind, and you're not doing enough damage. And Felskar is AoE uncapped, which is one of the few great things still left into the game. But whenever we did the research for the tier lists, all I've seen with Havoc is just Felskar. So I'm guessing that Eldrachi just fell behind.
Okay.
So, but these buffs are probably similar to what we're seeing with Sandlane, where they're just buffing things. The numbers is relative unless you know exactly what Wounded Quarry does and Warblade's Hunger does exactly in terms of your overall DPS. I would be surprised if this is a big buff.
Yeah. Somebody on the YouTube chat, I managed to catch it, asked if these changes are actually live. They are live. This went live on Tuesday for NA and Wednesday for
this
EU.
reset this week. Yeah.
So this reset. Okay, so they are live. They probably didn't add it up in the Battle.net notes or whatever, but they are live because we've seen some things change, like Paladins and stuff. We'll get to it. Let's check out Vengeance Mastery. Fell Blood effectiveness increased by 20%. Shadow Soul's healing per soul increased by 7%. Of recent damage taken was 6%, and Soul Barrier base absorb value increased by 50%, and absorb value per soul increased by 100%. Now, we were talking about Vengeance like when we did the tank tier list. Was it like more on the squishy side?
Middle of the pack. Well, Vengeance has kind of always been more on the squishier side because they bake so much power into mitigation and its sustain. And I'm seeing a similar pattern with Prot Paladin right now, where once again you have a lot of defensiveness baked up into your sustain. So right now I'm just confused, and we're probably going to go deeper into this when it comes to Prot Paladin. But what exactly are we supposed to do as a tank right now? Because we're supposed to not be as as self-reliant and we need to rely more on healers. That was the theme of the tank design going into the War Within, which saw the nerfs of pretty much every tank spec. And now we just see buffs to self-sustain and not to the actual mitigation, which leads me to believe that do we care about healers anymore?
Well, I mean, again, they're trying to push a little bit of that survivability, which is great. You cannot have them all, man. Vengeance is one of the most mobile out of all of them. Give them, okay, not put it paper. Would you say Vengeance is more paper than prot at this moment?
No, I don't think there's a bigger paper than prot.
Okay, we'll get to prot. Let's move along to Druid. There's no balance. There's Feral and Restoration. Okay, and I know Arj is going to be happy about the changes to Restore Druid, but we'll start it off with Feral because it's first on the list. So this is for Wild Stalker, both changes. Now, chance for Bloodseeker Vines to grow on a single target is unchanged, but slightly increased when Rip and Rake are on multiple targets. See, I hate it when they word stuff like this, slightly increased. Now, can you percentage me more, please? Because I want to understand.
Percentage us with all of your numbers. Yeah. Well, what is the other one? Because we can go into this a little bit.
Yeah, and bursting growth damage is increased by 10%.
Okay, so overall, Wild Stalker hasn't changed. I think Guiltius made a post on Wowhead where he went over pretty much the changes of all the talents, like how the talents play, the hero talents, what they add to Feral in general. Wild Stalker is pretty much non-existing. It's nothing really changes. This is just pure damage, like an extra bleed that you have out there. Having more damage is not necessarily bad. We probably will need way more on Wild Stalker, considering that everybody's playing Druid of the Claw. If we want them to be balanced, I don't know if this is necessarily enough. But when I played my Feral, Wild Stalker was the one that felt more ferally than the other one.
Thematically, it is there, and I do have to say, like, Feral is not the worst melee spec in the bunch. Like in both Spectrums, Mythic Plus, and Rating. Sure, there's a lot more to be done in order for the spec to perform. I think, like, again, I get this feeling that for the last couple of weeks, even an example with Feral here is like instead of like them focusing on the base situations for specs to actually perform and get to a par where everybody's doing kind of the same, they are what?
No. You're saying it really right. So right now
I'm saying it really white.
We're not gonna go there. But when it comes to buffing stuff that's unpopular for a spec that's underperforming, you're not actually solving the problem, because Feral, with its best options, it's barely keeping up with everybody else. You're buffing its worst options. You're not actually raising the overall level of Feral unless you're over buffing its worst options. So first of all, yes, if you bring Wild Stalker in tune, maybe even equal to Druid of the Claw, Feral is probably still gonna be where it is right now. Now, it's one of those specs that if you don't over buff it, people won't ever play it, and will never invite it to their groups, because people still have like how it was for Red before it got reworked and it was just crazy out of the world. Then and that's probably what Feral needs to not feel like a dead spec, or for you not to feel like you're missing out by playing it.
Just focus on working on the base functionalities of the spec, and then worry about bumping up different hero talents and then whatsoever, because I don't think this will do anything for the spec, to be honest.
It's good that it's in their sights, but more.
Okay, and finally, Restoration Druid got their buff. They were awaiting this.
Yes.
There was a long time coming. I think it was like the poorest performing healer in all spectrums, at least when we checked a couple of weeks ago. So all healing is increased by 5%, and also Scenario and Ward healing is increased by 40%. Now, overall, this is good. I think like most rest of Druids there's not like major changes or whatever. I think one of the biggest problems was their throughput, and now they have it, especially with Scenario and Ward. If I remember correctly, Scenario Ward was the little green shield you put on the tank.
On the tank, and when it takes damage, you get healed,
So you actually can save a tank now, because I know rest of Druids were struggling. Like if a tank did a boo-boo,
I don't know if it's enough. Well, right now in raids,
it's not enough, of course, but it's like moving in the right direction.
It's there. I feel like if you want to fix tank healing, if this is indeed a problem for rest of Druid, Scenario Ward is one of the 7 ways you probably have to go about it. You probably want to buff Life Bloom and stuff like that before you can assume that Resto Druid is gonna do really good tank healing. I mean, in raids it's not that bad. In raids it's actually, statistically speaking, the second best healer, while healing wise, and in dungeons it is still at the bottom.
Healing wise, I thought Resto Druid was statistically the second better damage wise.
Well, it might be. I mean, it was doing almost as much as a DPS damage back at beta, so they did nerf it. I don't know how much they nerfed it, but it's probably still needs a little bit more for Mythic Plus, and that is probably where most people care about.
Yeah, I'm hoping folks like our job and I remember Stan also was playing a lot of Rest of Judah. I'm hoping they feel the impact in a positive way, and hopefully we'll get some more for the Rest of Judah, because at the end of the day we both love this spec.
Oh,
and,
yes. I miss playing my Druid, but they done Druid bad, man.
Yeah, they done it bad. They done it bad. Hey, Flame, look at this. We have Mage.
Oh man, don't get me started, because I have a bone to pick with Blizzard.
Yeah, take
so
this phone. All right, let's check it out. So this is for Frostfire, all right? No changes on the specs. We're just looking at everything that has been changed to Frostfire. So Frostball damage increased by 15%. Frostfire infusion damage increased by 50%. Frostfire empowerment damage bonus increased to 60%. This was 50%.
Okay.
And Frost mastery now grants 2% mastery. This was 1% mastery. Okay, Mr. Mage Main, you have the stage.
These are
Mage
definitely
who has the stage.
These are definitely good buffs. Frostfire was the worst hero talent that Mage had, period, across the board. The buffs are definitely good. They, as far as fire is concerned, I've spent a little bit of time in the Mage Discord. It's coming very close to Sun Fury. I don't think it's better than Sun Fury yet. And for Frost, I actually have no idea. But the buffs are good. The problem is that there's still some issue baselines with a couple of Mage specs, particularly with fire, which this patch has added that Frostfire does not fix. But that's like a totally different topic. When it comes to Frostfire, people were playing it even before the buffs and were doing pretty good damage when it came to like Living Bomb playstyles. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Frostfire now will run at least the capstone for Living Bomb, Explosivo. I don't know how many Living Bomb talents you will run. You can run them. The thing is, with Fire Mage and a spec like that is very volatile and very dependent on your content. Although we bash on Mage quite a bit, and probably a lot of people bash it for good reason, you'll probably be able to perform really well if you just play what you like and be really, really good at it. But it stands to see that, there's still differences between hero talents. So
you heard it here first, folks. All right, we're moving along. Evokers, baby. Oh my God, we got some changes to Evokers.
Favorite part of the video, man.
It is sure. All right. So augmentation, blistering scales grants allies 20% of your armor was 30%. This is a nerf.
This is a nerf.
Was this like one of the things that tanks were happy about? Blistering scales, or am I mistaken?
Blistering scales is probably one of the things. I wouldn't think it was the best thing, but the reason you would want augmentation is not because of the damage anymore, it's because of the survivability. If you look at the plus 13s, plus 14s, even plus 12s, it was very hard to find one that did not have an augmentation. So at this point, okay, let's because you can see like 7 types of melee specs being played at that level, 7 types of range specs being played, but augmentation is almost in every group, so it's a little bit much at this point.
Yeah. I do believe this is like a stealth nerf to like tanks playing with augmentation in their comps.
Also, that you're actually saying it right. Tanks are already having a hard time surviving.
I was going with that, because there's the issues with tanks right now are, for people who are like tanking in high-ish keys, they know, right? And people who are playing with augmentation in their groups, we're having a little bit of an easier time. Now it's getting harder even for those who are running with augmentation. Stan's hot take: if Blizz removes Aug Evoker, they can actually do proper tuning, which is a fair point.
I so don't want to agree with that, but you're probably right. Point. So in the way I see it, is augmentation is a good thing for the game because it spices things up and opens up avenues to more interesting game design and class design and role design.
But they can never
they cannot do it.
Up until Augmentation Evoker was introduced, they were doing quite a decent job tuning. After that, all hell broke loose.
And it's all because of the tankiness, man. And it's still going to be because of the tankiness, because M+, because it's not in raids, by the way, M+ is just way more punishing than it has ever been, so augmentation is going nowhere. We might just like every nerf that the augmentation sees might just push people to do a key lower, but it might not take augmentation out of the groups, period. I don't think so.
It will not get it out. Okay, let's check out Devastation as well. Like for Flame Shaper, consume flame damage is increased by 25%, and engulf damage reduced by 20%. Oh, this is in PvP combat. Never mind. All right, so just consume flame damage is increased by 25%. Now, Devastation was doing all right, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, but it was playing
not Flame
Skill
Shaper,
Commander.
Skill Commander, yeah.
Flame Shaper is actually really cool. It is what makes the spec, based on my personal opinion in the beta, made the spec a lot more interesting because it has a little bit more interactiveness baked into it, supposing that it adds more fire talents which it didn't, from what I understand. You're still not playing Firestorm resets, Pyro Explosions, all that, or you might, maybe that changed, but that was the selling point of Flame Shaper for me. It was a very, very fun playstyle. As much as I'm not a big fan of Evokers, period, it was good WoW gameplay. So it's great to see, you know, it's the same thing that we've seen for Sandlane, just trying to bring the hero talents back in line with each other. Yeah.
Same team, exactly. And the same goes for Preservation on the Flame Shaper. Engulf healing is increased by 20%. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Preservation was doing quite all right.
Also with Chrono Ward, not Flame Shaper, as far as I know. So nobody was playing Flame Shaper.
Oh, okay. So would this be like the proper incentive?
Well,
like
if it is...
You used to play Preservation at some point in your life.
I did. I mained it, and I actually played it in beta with both of the hero talents, and I have to say the biggest dopamine hit I've received on a hero, not even on Holy Paladin, was with Preservation Flame Shaper, because there was a crazy degenerate combo you can do with Engulf, where you essentially put 5 Leon hands on people, and it was degenerate that Blizzard said, no, we're not going to have that in live. No, just play Chrono Ward, and it's fine. And now we're seeing... Flame Shaper being buffed back again. So hopefully, because we don't ever really see, to be fair, like or dislike Evoker, we kind of want to see some devastation and preservation. I'm tired of augmentation.
Come on, man. Yeah, that's enough. Like the representation, the population of Evokers right now was like tipping major.
I don't think Evoker exists. It's just augmentation. It's just one spec.
But it existed prior to augmentation. Like, well, what happened? Okay, let's move along. Here it is, Beast Mastery Hunter. Ooh. I think, this is like the first change. Let's make this a little bit. More centered, so we don't have like go away marksmanship, go away. You're fine.
Nobody likes marksmanship.
No, we like marksmanship, but not now.
When he uses a pet and he uses bloodlust in dungeons.
Okay, let's check it out. So Beast Mastery, Basilisk collar damage bonus per damage over time effect reduced by 2%, 4%. It was 5%, 10%.
This is very big.
You want to go through all and then we
go through all, yeah.
Okay. Kill command damage is increased by 18%, and all damage dealt by you and your pet's abilities is increased by 8%. Now, before you lay down your thoughts, let's see the developer's notes here.
Okay, we have notes.
So they said, we've adjusted the values for the baseline buff up to better reach our target goals. Our intended tuning change for Beast Mastery is intended to be relatively neutral for single target while increasing AoE performance, which was behind where it should be.
Wouldn't Fury Warriors would have loved to get buffs like these,
and this explanation as well.
So there were Beast Mastery probably has a lot of problems, but some of the ones that I was aware of, and the biggest one was Basilisk Collar, that was way overtuned. It was so good in single target that just by spending these 2 points, you got more damage than any other 2 points in the tree, if I recall correctly, and you would probably take this in AoE as well, just because it was that good for a single target. And it was probably hard to tune Beast Mastery with this in mind, so they nerfed Basilisk Collar, which is great, because, you know, they even out the talent power so that you can, you know, have more build variety and whatever. But they are buffing Kill Command, which inadvertently translates into AoE damage with Kill Cleave, and that's, you know, most, if not all of your AoE damage. And overall, an 8% buff across. Dude, I haven't seen 8% across the board on anything so far, man. And there are a lot of specs that deserve an 8% across the board.
They're taking their time with each spec,
but
so
you know,
that's fair.
Fire Mage got a 7% across the board. So yeah, we're happy.
Stop being salty, Flame. Stop being salty. Enjoy your Fire Mage and you keep on it. It's gonna be good. Listen, man, it's not like a Fire Mage was always the dog shit spec, okay?
But it's dog shit when I play it. So why am I to blame for it? Okay,
coolio. Let's check out Marksmanship. Nothing. Survival Hunters. All right, let me center this as well. So we have it. Monks. Okay, monks, go away a little bit. Go away. We're gonna get back to you. Okay, so survival. You played survival recently.
Yes.
Let's see. The Nerubar Palace 2 set bonus now increases wildfire bomb damage by 8%. This was 5%. Yay, bomb damage. The Nerubar Palace 4 set bonus now increases Raptor Strike / Mongoose bite damage by 20% on targets affected by Wildfire Bomb. This used to be 10%.
It's shit.
I was expecting to say
Wildfire Bomb damage is probably okay. It's on a 2 set, and it's the more generic buff that Survival could get. The Raptor Strike, you just don't press Raptor Strike as much. You might press it more in 11.05 when the big changes come for Survival. So we can take a look at these buffs from 2 different angles. We can take a look at from the live angle right now, which is probably you're not really going to feel much. It might be great if you're, pushing the 90 percentile parses and every little bit of percentage you're actually going to feel because you can actually exploit that out of your spec. But for the average survival, myself included, I'm probably not going to feel any difference from this. Obviously, I don't even have my 4 set yet, but the 2 set I couldn't even feel like it was there, and that's fine. And the other angle would be from the 11.05 changes, where survival gets a lot of stuff being changed. We also made a video about that, by the way. Yeah. And this could mean a little bit more, but we'll have to see how that plays out, because that changes the builds and rotation quite a bit. So I don't know exactly how you're gonna play.
Man, on paper, I like the interactivity. Like, if you're gonna have like maintaining Wildfire Bombs and having increase the Raptor Strike, do keep in mind these buffs are also like on top of like all of the good changes for survival.
So it's not bad.
It could be a proper incentive to like actually push on the priority list the Raptor Strike, Mongoose
It's probably more to make the tier set not feel like a mediocre gain, so it actually feels like a tier set. Because we've had that problem with a lot of specs where you just high level or tier set, high level probably, right? So you don't want to live in that world.
True. Okay, we have some changes for the monks. Quite a lot of them here. So first off, we're having Brewmaster, Mastery of Harmony. Coalescence now causes aspect of harmony to increase damage and healing taken by 20%. I think this is pretty big. Master of Harmony. Chi Wave and Chi Burst deals 100% increased damage. This was 50%. Master of Harmony, Overwhelming Force is increased by 20%. It used to be 15%. And Master of Harmony, Balanced Stratagem increases damage to 5%, was 3%. This is looking like proper solid buffs for Brewmaster.
Brewmaster.
I think Brewmaster did decent damage. I don't remember it being like at numero uno.
It's probably number one in terms of damage output. I think Bear might take it a little bit, but overall Brewmaster.
I did 1 million damage to my blood decay, man. What are you talking about, man?
Marcelian is the best blood decay in the world. But the Brewmaster never had issues with damage output. It hasn't had issues with damage probably since BFA. I don't think that's what's keeping Brewmasters off. But
it's clearly buffs to damage. Like Chi Wave, Chi Burst, the 100% damage was 50%. Clearly, it's like super good.
Probably would have wanted to see some tankiness buffs.
Well, we have this as well, like Aspect of Harmony, like damage and healing increase by 20%. So, I mean, I don't know, man, but I'm feeling with these changes, we will probably see a lot more presence of Brewmaster. Hopefully, because
I don't think... Have you seen a Brewmaster at all?
I've seen Mokti.
Outside of Mokti, nobody plays Brewmaster, man. Like, where are all the monks?
Yeah. Okay. Let's check out Mistweaver. Here we have Mastery of Harmony. Fixed an issue that caused Coalescence to not increase the healing taken during Aspect Harmony. Coalescence now increases Aspect Harmony to increase damage and healing taken by 20%. Oh, well, this was 30%. This is a nerf.
This is a nerf.
Okay. And this is a developer note for this as well. After fixing a bug that prevented Coalescence healing taken effect from functioning, we found that we needed to reduce its effectiveness a bit. And Aspect of Harmony now stores 30% of healing done was 20%. All right, so they fixed the bug, and because of the bug that was like super healing, and they said, okay, we need to tone it down because it's getting out of hands. Okay, I haven't seen a lot of Mistweavers. Apart from like Schwain, who's like healing in our raid, like in Keys at least, didn't really see any at all.
They're kind of very middle of the pack in terms of overall healing throughput, which I mean it's fine. It has a lot of burst healing, but I feel like they're very outshined by Resto Shamans, Discipline Priests, and Preservation Evokers at this point.
Kings.
Once again, it's good to see these buffs. We've been having like tiny buffs for a while, so we don't know exactly how much this will push Mistweaver to be more competitive. Obviously, it's pushing it more than it's not, but we'll have to see how much it will translate. Once again, it's just for one particular hero tile, not for the overall kit of Mistweaver.
Yeah, and big changes to Windwalker monks, huge. Like we couldn't like put all into
barely
one
had
list.
Space. We had to buy another subscription.
It's like Conduit of the Celestial Conduit now scales its damage with Mastery combo strikes. There you go. You happy, Windwalkers? You happy, Pappy?
Now go away. Windwalkers are actually not doing too bad, man.
I know, man. I know. They're all right.
Good.
They're they're all right. They're all right. There's like, okay, there's not many changes coming up. Like if you talk to Babylonians, you're going to find a lot of glaring issues. But for now, it's all good. Now we're getting to the.
I see pink.
Yeah, we're getting to the part where a lot of people were waiting for, which is like the Paladin buffs. And yes, Paladins have received buffs all across the world. All specs receive buffs. So we started it off with protection, and this is going to be a nice back and forth because we have things to talk about protection. Okay, we're going to go through them, and then we're going to discuss, okay?
Sure.
So these are live currently. Now, for protection, all ability damage increased by 6%. Word of Glory healing increased by 20%. Light of the Titans now heals over 10 seconds, was 15 seconds, so this is like a faster heal over time. Fate in Delight duration increased to 6 seconds, this was 5 seconds. For Lightsmith, Sacred Weapon damage and healing increased by 30%. Forged Reckoning damage increased by 30%. Blessed Assurance increases the damage of your next Crusader Strike / Hammer of Righteous / Blessed Hammer by 200%. This was 100%.
That's big.
Divine Guidance damage and healing increased by 50%. Hammer and Anvil damage increased by 40%. Sanctification grants 2% increased primary stat. This was 1%. I think probably this is one of the biggest they could have, but we'll discuss it. Okay, so clearly they finally addressed part of the issues with Prot Paladin. Now, clearly, it will deal a lot of damage. You will exemplify because you played on today. But I still feel they have not addressed the main problem with Prot Paladin, which I do believe at this point is the squishiest tank out of all, which was, I don't remember a time where this was ever the case. It's very weird because
it had time in the past where it was squishy, particularly in Shadowlands, until people discovered that you can actually stack verse, mastery, and crit.
Until people discovered that you actually need to stay in consecration.
Oh yeah. Then it became one of the tankiest tank, ironically. Protection Paladin issues are way too big, and I hope I'm not going to be butchering them, but damage was definitely not a problem for Protection Paladin. All ability damage being increased by 6%. I mean, that's fine. No tech is going to be sad to see that. Once again, it's a more extreme version of Brewmaster where Prot Paladins just need to survive, man. That is the main problem. Now, there are a couple of problems here, personally, that I see is Word of Glory being buffed by 20%. First of all, Word of Glory is your sustain. It's the problem with a tank like Prot Paladin is that you're not a blood decay.
Yeah. Did they say how much mana it costs? Did they say?
Oh, that's like a totally new situation.
We're getting there.
Okay. Word of Glory being buffed is not necessarily bad, but because they buff Word of Glory, I have a sinking feeling that they're not going to be buffing Shield of the Righteous or your Mastery or even, God forbid, staying in Consecration or anything like that. They're not going to do that because you have a lot more sustain with Word of Glory. Prot Paladin doesn't feel and look like a tank that's supposed to be revolving around self-sustain to be able to survive. It's a shield tank, you have armor, and everything just feels particularly useless. Now, that aside, we also see a lot of buffs to Lightsmith. Now, this is not going to make Prot Paladin overpowered. If anything, from the Hammer of Wrath community, it seems like this just brings Lightsmith in tune with Templar. This does not make Prot Paladin secretly OP now. It just makes it balanced. Actually, this is probably one of the most balanced hero talents that any spec might have at the moment. They're actually very, very close in overall performance. But Lightsmith is a little bit easier to play. You're probably going to see more people play it. Templar revolves around you, keeping up, shake the heavens up as much as possible by playing your rotation properly, so it's a lot more punishing. But overall, the big problem with Prot Paladin is it just gets one shot. Well, one shot is a little bit of an extreme, but it's what you would think Blood Decay goes through, except that Blood Decay can also heal for a reasonable amount, while Word of Glory still doesn't. And if you couple all of this with Lightsmith, which is the armament stuff that does crazy damage. Whenever you use Word of Glory, it lowers the cooldown of your armament, so you're incentivized to play a lot of Word of Glories.
Yep.
And this week, you also can dispel the affix. Now, you know what both Word of Glories and Dispel cost?
Mana!
And you know what they did in Shadowlands to hybrid specs that had access to off heals and dispels? They buffed the mana cost crazy so that you don't spam them.
What they did in Shadowlands?
I think when they did the unpruning, I believe.
Wasn't it?
I don't know if it was in
maybe
might have been in BFA, but I believe that in Shadowlands they revitalized all of the specs in the game. They unpruned them, right? They brought a lot of abilities back to the specs. So I think they also addressed, if not in Shadowlands, then sometime in the past.
Fair enough. I was just thinking about the fact that like there's also the holy power component.
Not necessarily, because with Prot Paladin you want to cast your Word of Glory with Shining Light with the buff that you get the beefy Word of Glory, because otherwise it doesn't do anything. And you would think that would be free, because that costs holy power to get to that point, and it's not free. And you spend remember the time when we used to play Arena and Reds were off healing a lot, and then at some point they ran out of mana? That was probably the time when they increased the mana cost of pretty much everything, and you run out of mana. I played it today on stream. I could not do the affix and keep myself alive.
This must be the most mana starving tank in history. Like
only mana tank.
But seriously, now when it comes to like Prot Paladin, like we both love the spec so much, and I remember tanking with Prot Paladin like in Dragonflight. Like when I was maining Red, I was also like tanking keys with Prot, and it was such a delight to play. There was never a discussion where you would get one shot on anything, especially because of the kit of Prot, where you have so many tools to like address one shots, tank busters and all of that. Now, I don't know if their intention is to make it like this sort of like sustaining type Blood Decay gameplay where you would just like spam Word of Glories. It seems like it. It seems like they're pushing that direction. But let me tell you something. Prot Paladin is no Blood Decay.
No,
there's no shot. It's like I'm not even sure if they have like the tech under the hood to make it work as Blood Decay works.
The mitigation works differently. Blood Decay mitigates after the fact by retroactively healing the damage. You supposedly have block. You cannot make Prot Paladin like Blood Decay because it would be overpowered.
Yeah.
You're still able to block.
This is why it feels so weird, because you're very incentivized to play a lot of Word of Glory, and you get starved, but you also are paper. It's like so bad.
But this is a different problem that people, I've never heard anybody talk about this way, but since we've been nerfed in terms of defensiveness, and the only thing that's being buffed is Word of Glory. Word of Glory costs mana. We now don't have mana to keep ourselves alive.
This is very weird.
And it doesn't regenerate in combat fast enough. It takes 5 or more cycles of 5 holy power expenditures to be able to get mana back to be able to heal again. Not to mention that pretty much all abilities cost mana anyway.
I mean, at this point, like looking at how it plays today, this is kind of why we hate Prot Paladin. No joke. Like from a place of love for the spec, and we always enjoyed the spec. I think at some point it was your favorite tank.
It still is, and I feel like I want to drink battery acid right now.
No way. No. It's in a sad state. And yes, I think like the biggest issue is the problem with the mana regeneration. I would just advocate for it to be removed, at least for Prot. Just remove the mana cost, man. It's so stupid.
Or make Shining Light or the proc for the fat Word of Glories, just make it free so that it doesn't cost any mana.
At least that. Okay, that would be the compromise.
You're not going to play a Prot Paladin in a group, see your healer struggle to heal everybody. You have a fat heal ready to cast, and you're not going to cast it as somebody. You're not going to sit on it like, you better die now, bye.
But where do you see this problem being more prevalent in a raiding environment? Because I feel like the issues Prot Paladins have are more to do with Mythic Plus.
I've tanked the raid a little bit, but that hasn't really changed in the last couple of expansions. There's no such thing as tank busters. I mean, they're tank busters, but not like it used to be. Not where if you don't pop a big defensive, you die. So raid doesn't really affect tanks as much as Mythic Plus, considering that Mythic Plus constantly scales. On top of the fact that raids, there are a lot more people that can offset bad tank play or essentially save a tank from dying, as opposed to dungeons, which is only one person and you, right? This is just the healer. Now DPS can't do anything to save you. Yeah. And the tanks being nerfed is one thing. I mean, this creates a whole sort of other problems that we have in Mythic Plus today, which is like a totally different discussion. Prot Paladin is basically the poster child of what's wrong with tanking, especially in Mythic Plus, especially for a spec that feels like its identity is lost. Like it feels like the devs don't know what to do with it. It's a tank that can block. It can block spells. It has its unique niche, but the armor's been nerfed. The block has been nerfed. The defensive has been nerfed, and you're buffing the healing. Like, I don't understand. In a world where they said they want tanks to be reliant more on healers, how am I going to be reliant more on healers when I can heal myself more?
This is exactly, and the route they've taken is exactly the one of the Blood Decay differences. Like, Blood Decay has been working like this for a long time, and it's basically its identity. Prot Paladin's identity, well, at least it used to be the Swiss knife.
Yeah.
Of the tanks. Like you had everything, you had an answer for like every situation. Now you still have that answer, but everything is so low, like it doesn't really impact you as much.
It's just that the floor was lowered a lot, because Prot Paladin can block, but it shouldn't block more than a Pro Warrior. Prot Paladin can spell reflect, and spell block, but it's not the best magical.
Prot Paladin would wish to spell reflect.
You can block spells, which is really good, but you're not probably better at dealing with magic damage than a Death
But dude,
Knight.
imagine, blocking spells is all nice and all of that, but let me put you through Necrotic Wake, the trash before the third boss.
Trash, really?
No, but that one is really scary because the physical
I'm so
debuff.
afraid to do that with a Paladin.
Imagine a Prot Paladin that I don't know how. Like you have to have a god healer to like maintain.
But that's the thing, because how are you maintaining a Prot Paladin? Because its HP is going to yo-yo. Blood Decay can bring that back. Venge Demon Hunter can bring that back. Prot Paladin has Word of Glory a couple of times, and then you run out of mana.
Yeah, it's all lights. It's all lights and show. Also, I want to shout out Milky Balls GG for the Prime. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it, boy.
Yeah, like I see Patrick saying like, he did a 5 Dawnbreaker. It was all fine. Then, you see Percy talking about their Prot Paladin dying left and right in 9. I mean, it all depends on, scaling.
It's perspective. Do that +5 with a Prot Warrior and then come back to me and tell me how good.
And Patrick has a Prot Warrior as well, mind you. But yeah, it's a sad state, and this is basically why we hate the Prot Paladin currently. Hoping like the feedback gets through. I know Lincoln and a lot of good folks from the Hammer of Red community are
for sure.
working around the clock to like feedback and make sure these changes are not there.
Bring back my Prot Paladin, please. I want it back. You took it away.
They're way too nerfed, and regardless of how many tools you have as a Prot Paladin, I think like once again, when they're not looking at the base core functionalities of the spec, nothing will save them. No increase to World of Healing, no damage increase, nothing. The tank just does not survive. It's a paper tank, and it's the most mana hungry. It's like a goddamn caster at this point. And give me mana. I want to survive. Give me mana. It's not the tank fantasy.
It's basically what Black Cat is saying right now in the chat is a kite tank, and we thought we left that meta behind where you have to kite things. And I mean, mobs packs are not even designed to be kiteable anymore, considering that half of the mobs are immune to crowd control, so you cannot slow them, stun them, or keep them behind. So
yeah, it was interesting at some point. The kite meta. I remember in BFA it was a thing, but it got boring really fast and frustrating really fast as well. Right, let's move on.
God damn it.
Holy Paladin. Okay,
Woo!
Holy Paladin. This is
success story at least.
This is your
the hope.
Your favorite healer.
Yes.
At this point. Okay, let's go through the buffs. So Lightsmith Awakening now causes Blessing of the Forge to spawn a sacred weapon when extending the duration of Avenging Wrath. These are all for Lightsmith, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Hammer and Anvil's healing effect radius increased to 20 yards. This was 5 yards.
Jesus.
Wow, this is big. Hammer and Anvil's healing increased by 150%. Divide Guidance effect is increased by 50%. They fixed the bug causing Dawnlight to not have its healing reduced beyond 5 targets. Interesting. And Dawnlight healing increased by 30%. We have developer notes for this as well. We're correcting the bug with Dawnlight and compensating with a buff to its healing to keep its value in rate close to its current performance, while giving it increased performance in 5-party group content. Now, you healed with Prot Paladin.
I actually healed today.
Did it feel good?
I've played actually Herald of the Sun, so I essentially tested
so you're
the
useless.
Dawnlight changes. The Lightsmith was just fairly behind, and it was very hard to keep up with Herald of the Sun. So what we're seeing is just more keeping in tune with Herald of the Sun. It's kind of a hard hero talent to beat when it comes to Lightsmith. It is pretty good, and I have played with Lightsmith as well. It is fun to deal a lot of damage. And Holy Paladin is essentially still having issues with, keeping people up through multiple waves of damage increase when it comes to having Beacon of Virtue ready for the affix and be able to dispel, and then a big wave of damage is coming, and you kind of need cooldowns for everything. So we're kind of back into that direction, although it's still doing a lot better than before. And Holy Paladin has been nerfed ever since beta, and it's been barely keeping up with Herald of the Sun. So it's good to see that Lightsmith has been buffed as well, but it's kind of like the monk discussion that we've had where, yeah, you're buffing this, or the feral rather, but we probably need something baseline as well, which
baseline,
I think it got last week anyway. It's not that bad, but I feel like people are still sleeping on Holy Paladin.
But let me ask you, like, if among our lovely viewers were some people that were actually interested in like playing a Holy Paladin, would this be a recommendation you would give? Is it like he's an easy healer to get into? Is it? I mean, is it easy to get into and hard to master, like typical Blizzard fashion, or would you recommend this healer? Let's say to people trying it out.
It's easy to get into in the sense that you can figure out what it's about. You build up holy power, you spend it. It's a combo healer where your base heals are particularly weak, but they get amplified with different cooldowns in different situations. Like you have Infusion of Light, and then
isn't that a proc?
That's a proc, but then you have Holy Prism, which makes Holy Light even stronger, and that's kind of how you're using it. And that makes it stronger. You still want cooldowns to be able to heal. Outside of cooldowns, you'll probably struggle a little bit. When it comes to, let's say, entry-level content, you're probably going to be fine. And it's actually very enjoyable. You have a lot. There's no boring moment with Holy Paladin. You always have something to do. When it gets to the tougher content, where you need a cooldown for a specific thing, and if you don't have it that time, you're fucked. It's kind of like Blood Decay, where if you fall behind with Blood Decay on healing yourself, you're kind of it's a hard time to get back. That's
go to purgatory and good luck.
Yeah, that's basically Holy Paladin as well. If you're not on top of your combos, your proper rotation, your cooldown rotation as well, and you're gonna be left behind, that's gonna bite you in the butt. It has burst healing a lot, but that's probably where people might have difficulties getting into it. That's where I have the difficulties trying to manage all of that stuff. So you do require some game knowledge, some encounter knowledge to know exactly, okay, this damage usually takes everybody 10% HP. I need to have this ready and stuff like that.
But like the play style for Holy Paladin, is it still a combination between melee and range, or is it still like, super melee focused?
It's pure melee. I don't think there's such a thing as range anymore. You still cast Holy Lights. It feels better to cast Holy Light than it's been before, because we've talked about this in the past expansions where it was like a nothing spell. Now it actually generates Holy Power properly. It has an explosion type burst healing, and that's great. But you're probably we're not gonna see Holy Paladin go back to casting, just as probably we're not going to see Mistweavers go back to casting either.
Oh, okay. Well, that's it for you, Holy Paladin. I mean, overall, it's looking good.
Yeah, no, it's still my favorite healer. All of this is just making it way better and way more fun to play, for sure.
All right. Now, the start of the show, baby, Red Paladin. Getting that Templar love. Yes. Now, listen, man. Templar, when they first announced the hero talents, like Templar was like the most...
Obviously.
Thematic for Red Paladins, and we were hyped for Templar. It turned out it was shit, and nobody played it. But
until that 1 week in the first season when you could cast Hammer of Light 5 times in a row.
Oh yeah, that was a beauty. But regardless, it was shit overall, and nobody played it. And I think now things will change, because holy moly, did this get buffed. So let's check out the buffs.
Yep.
Shake the Heavens lasts for 10 seconds. This used to be 8 seconds. Sanctification duration increased to 12 seconds. This used to be 10 seconds. Final Reckoning now increases the damage of Hammer of Light by 30%. This used to be 15%. Hammer of Light main target damage increased by 25%. Hammer of Light secondary target damage increased by 75%. Light's Deliverance now triggers at 50 seconds. This used to be 60, so it's a lot faster. Undisputed Ruling grants 15% haste for 8 seconds. This used to be 12% haste for 6 seconds. I mean, it's looking... Wrathful Descent now deals 125% of the Empyrean Hammer damage to nearby enemies. This used to be 100%. And Empyrean Hammer now benefits from Penitence and Burn to Ash. Needless to say, I've been looking at logs after these changes went live. And sure enough,
everybody's playing Templar.
I mean, not everybody switched. I don't think like everybody got the memo. But I've seen a lot more Templar Red Paladins, man.
I think Paladins want to play more Templar rather than Herald of the Sun is nice. Herald of the Sun is kind of like Sandlane. It's faster, it's explosive, it's quicker. But Templar is the meat.
Yeah, Templar is basically the theme of like being a Paladin. The warrior of the light or wherever. Yeah. There's a lot of like lore and fantasy and even history, I would go to say, behind this. And having all of these buffs and bumping it up, because at the end of the day, there's nothing really that complicated. Like all you Red Paladin mains know this. It's basically bumping up this hero talent to like do crazy damage. And I'm not sure. We still have to see some logs and some simulations. Yeah. But I do feel Templar could outshine now Herald of the Sun with all of this. And I'm thinking across the board. Now, was this warranted? Sure. This is one example where they will have like the base kit, the hood, the engine underneath it working properly. So Red Paladins did decent damage to great damage,
really
right?
They're very consistent.
Yeah, so no need to work too much over there. An example where, okay, we need to buff a hero talent. This is how you do it. Bring it up to par. Not like goddamn Sand Lane, which is still not playable for Unholy Decay.
Yeah, I mean, if the numbers are just very, very big. You're 25, like Hammer of Light is not something like, oh, is this a big damage? No, you see it on the meters. It is there.
It is.
And having it buffed by 25% for your main target is definitely going to matter a lot. Now, all in all, like you said, I don't know how much it will stack up against Herald of the Sun. If anything, if it's closed, then that just makes it way better because
that is better.
You have two different choices of playstyle where Herald of the Sun is a degenerate hero talent, where if you press Avenging Wrath, you have about 3 to 5 Divine Storms back to back.
Yeah.
That is not normally how a spec should be played, but it is a fun way to just go on a song, just press this button 5 times and everything explodes on the meters. That is fun.
It is fun.
On the other hand, Templar is a little bit more combo based, a little bit more weavy. You use Wake of Ashes and then Big Hammer of Light, then you get the Hammer of Light proc a little bit more. Shake the Heavens is a longer buff that you can keep up and extend and play with to get more Imperium hammers. It is unfortunately still a bit passive. It's like that's not going to change, but that's not the point. Point is that Red, whenever you pick it up, you smash and you smash hard and you say not sorry at all.
Yeah, and I think the best thing about Red Paladin at this point regarding hero talents is now you actually have a choice, a competitive choice in between like Templar and Herald, which is great in my opinion. Having like proper competitive choices between hero talents, I think this should be the purpose of
That's actually a really good point. For all of the Paladin specs right now, it's probably one of the class with the best type choices that you can have. They're probably some of the most equal choices there. There are some other examples, but even with protection, as much as we trashed it, whichever one you pick, you're going to be doing similar performance. You pick the one that you like best, similar with Red as well, probably similar with Holy Paladin as well. We'll have to see. Healers are a little bit harder to kind of gauge. But it's always good to have viability because this is what we've been looking at when it comes to hero towns. They're supposed to be like an easy swap to a different theme, a different fantasy.
Exactly. Now, it would be ideal if you have like proper impact to your playstyle and rotation. Some of them actually do, while most of them are just, passive and thematic
Not
styles.
everybody's calling horses to the battle.
That's not part of the rotation. That's, just part of the lifestyle now. Unholy Decays, be mobile, baby. All right, some changes to Shadow Priest up next.
Okay.
A lot of buffs overall, if I'm not mistaken. Let's
They
check
have
them
to
out. Why? Because it's shit? Don't tell me more.
Hey, listen, I'm not seeing Shadow climb any meters, but they're not doing too bad.
Okay, let's check it out. Mind Blast damage is increased by 10%. Shadow Word Death increased by 10%. Void Bolt increased by 10%. Shadowy Apparition increased by 10%. Entropic Rift damage, this now for Void Weaver.
Yeah.
Entropic Rift damage increased by 10%. Void Blast damage increased by 20%. Collapsing Void damage increased by 10%. Void Flay damage increased by 10%. Inner Quietus now increases Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain damage by 25%. So, yeah, okay, this is, I think this is, I'm not sure if this is enough, but you are looking at base tuning.
Yeah, this is a lot of 10% for
this
some big abilities.
Base tuning and also Void Weaver bumping a little bit more, right? So this is what we were talking about when we had like all of those prior examples where they would buff a specific hero talent but not really address what was happening under the hood.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it was,
Usually these types of buffs amount to about, I don't know, actually we're seeing it right now, about 2 to 6% overall damage in single target. Archon still apparently seeming a little bit higher, but now it's actually, they're way closer.
They're getting closer, yeah.
They were about 2.5% behind. Archon was ahead, 2.5%, 2.4% of Void Weaver. Now they're
well, I'm taking
0.2 difference.
Something percent. So
that's like
I think,
negligible.
Listen, you want to play Void Weaver. I mean, if you're going to play a hero talent as a Shadow Priest, I mean, Void Weaver is the thing. I play it as a Discipline Priest. I'm not fully embracing the Shadow. There's still a little bit of light over there. But not only that, what I was trying to underline is like, okay, this is proper changing in the sense that they buffed Mind Blast, Shadow Word Death, Void Bolt, the apparitions, all of them buff. These are part of the core damage profile of a Shadow Priest. On top of that, you're bringing up Void Weaver, and basically now, similar to the Paladin story for Shadow at least, now you have like proper choices between Oracle and Void Weaver. And also, hopefully, you know, we get some more love for the Shadow. I love this. This is
good. This is probably what we wanted to see for Feral. This is probably what we wanted to see maybe for Monk, with the exception of Windwalker. And also bring up the less popular or the least performing hero talent to kind of be in tune, because if they just buffed Void Weaver, it probably wouldn't have solved, let's say, the overall Shadow performance, right? It would just bring them a little bit closer together. And Shadow is not a spec that, you know, you see top the meters. It's doing all right. It's doing good damage. I mean,
it's all right, but it needs love.
Yeah,
it still needs love. It still needs love, and this is like the proper way to go for it. You know, base and hero talents.
For sure.
Okay, we have some situation here from Rogue.
Rogue.
Yes, Assassination. All right. First off, Deathstalker. Follow the blood effect now requires 2 targets afflicted with Rupture. This was 3 targets, sorry.
Yeah.
So quality of life, pretty good. Now, Assassination. Caustic, Spatter, poison damage dealt to nearby targets reduced to 40%. I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Assassination was... Is it the one that needs to be nerfed first? Is this the question? Is this the one that we start with? But sure.
Let's get over with it and we can debate. The 2-set bonus. Chance to trigger Val Tincture is increased. Val Tincture's poison damage buff now correctly affects Venom, Kingsbane, and the appropriate hero talent effects. I believe Whisper was talking about this specific 2-set bonus because it was problematic. The 4-set bonus. Thrombotic Tincture now correctly applies upon gaining 5 stacks of Val Tincture. This used to be 6 stacks. There's a developer note here. We expect these changes to result in a net increase in overall damage weighted heavily towards single target. I'm not sure on Assassination's single target performance. I know AOB was pretty good. I've seen some giga numbers in dungeons. Was it like it wasn't bottom of the barrel single target if I'm not mistaken?
No. It was okay.
Traditionally Assassination was doing always good on single target, but clearly there was some other specs that like really overtook it.
Well, the way that the fantasy goes and the design goes for Assassination, you kind of want it to have a little bit more single target because that's the point. You're funneling damage from your main target with caustic.
But the funnel spec is subtlety, Flame.
Where? Where in
is
the garbage bin?
In this galaxy?
No, this is good actually.
They fixed the set bonus, which was a little bit problematic. So I
don't mind at all that Assassination is getting buffed. I think.
I mean, they're only toning down the caustic spatter poison damage.
That's
it's not big, but
it's fine. Maybe having that amount of free damage maybe a little bit too much. I don't dislike caustic spatter. Is one of the things that I've loved about Assassination the most. Is the first spec that I ever got 3K with. I love my Assassination Rogue.
Hell yeah! And back when it wasn't meta, it was hard to do that stuff.
So I love it if it gets its Simon the Sun. That's perfectly fine. What I find interesting is that it gets an overall buff. Considering that in Mythic Plus it's a good spec. I think in raids it might actually suffer a little bit more. If we looked at the melee raids, it's not quite up there yet. And I'm glad that this is getting buffs because for a spec that's doing better than average, to get more buffs kind of brings hope to other specs that might be in a similar situation where we're not just expecting nerfs and buffs at the bottom of the barrel.
Well, they took their time with Rogue, let me tell you that. That was a thing. We also have a couple of changes for Outlaw. All ability damage increased by 4%. Dispatch damage increased by 6%. And Precise Cuts bonus to Blade Fury damage per missing target increased to 4%. So they're buffing Outlaw. Dispatch, I mean, obviously, when you talk about Outlaw, you talk both single target and AoE because there's really not much of a difference. It's basically gonna bump it up even more. I know it's been creeping up in Mythic Plus, not as much as it used to. I'll grant that.
Yeah, for sure, no. But it's not a bad spec.
Not at all.
Outlaw's doing pretty well.
He's doing good, but I'm not sure if this is enough. But it's good. What I'm sad about is subtlety. The Black Powder damage increased by 35%.
35% is a big number for an AoE.
Listen, man, like I don't want to go back to like spamming Black Powder in AoE, man. That was boring. Like subtlety had such a disparity of a game style. Like you had that complicated opener in AoE. And once you're done with that, that was an AoE as well, my friend. Once you were done with that, then you would just, Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, Shuriken Storm, Black Powder. And then whenever everything came back, symbols, mark for that.
Symbols of the Shadow Blades.
Shadow Blades, Shadow Dance, Secret Technique, all of that. Like when that came off, like you did the sequence once again. But it was a big disparity because you had to go into like a profound mental state to make sure you don't fuck up your opener.
Yeah.
And then it's all like boop, boop,
it's kind of like the opposite of Assassination, where in AoE it was always felt like a 500 IQ spec, and in single target you kind of fell asleep at the keyboard.
Yes, true. But I think even when we did the melee DPS tier list, which is gonna come on tomorrow. Subtlety was nowhere to be seen.
Unfortunately, spoiler alert.
But there was like logs. Where are they?
Worst performing spec. I think it's the only melee spec where the top player doesn't have a +10 across the board on all of the dungeons.
It's in a sad state.
It's been like that since Shadowlands.
No, my friend. No. Subtlety was because I played it in Dragonflight, and it was at one point it was the top melee DPS spec in keys. Yes, I mean it was rivaling Outlaw as well, and I think in season 1 of Dragonflight it was at some point it actually overtook Outlaw. I may be mistaken, but it was doing really good. Okay, let's move along to Restoration Shaman, which has its Earth and Harmony now causes Earth Shield to reduce damage taken by 3%. This was 5%.
Okay.
I would say a small nerf, and Acid Raid damage reduced by 20%. What is Acid Raid?
Acid Raid.
Not
Rain. It's a miss.
Oh my god! This is like from Wowhead. I'm gonna fix it for us, not for Wowhead.
So Acid Rain is basically the talent that makes your healing rain deal damage to enemy targets if they're caught in it. Restoration Shaman is clearly the go-to healer this season for probably everything. Is it for raids as well? It's definitely for dungeons. I don't know if the damage from Acid Rain is what keeps it to be an overwhelming healer to pick. But Earth and Harmony is a decent change. It's you'd think that 2% damage reduction is not big, but we think in terms of like Devotion Aura, right?
Yeah.
Devotion Aura used to be that, and it's been taken down ever since Holy Paladin was one of the best healers to take everywhere, because Devotion Aura provided 5% DR across the board in BFA and probably even in Shadowlands. I think they nerfed it in Shadowlands to like 3% of what we have now. So this was probably one of the reasons why you would want Restoration Shaman for a tank heal, because the damage reduction, it was really good. This is a step in the right direction. We'll see, have to see, because I feel like the throughput of Resto is also pretty bonkers.
Yeah,
that hasn't been touched at all.
There's a reason why it's the top healer at the moment. Okay, Demonology changes, my friend. I know you're an enjoyer of this spec. Pact of the Arid Ruin Doomguards deal 20% increased damage. Grimoire Felguard now increases the damage of the summoned Felguard by 60%. This used to be 45%. Felguard damage increased by 10%, and Gloomhound's Gloom slash damage increased by 20%. Question is, are we happy?
These are very big buffs for Demonology, considering Demonology, I think at this moment, is the least performing Warlock spec, statistically speaking. So it's not surprising that we're getting these buffs. Big buffs to Arid Ruin Doomguards, dealing more damage. That's fine. That's kind of like a inconsequential. Well, not really. I mean, it's not a consistent damage profile from the Doomguards, right? It has a chance to proc. Felguard doing 60% more damage. 60% instead of 45%. It's probably a big buff in terms of its packing damage into it. The cooldown, Felguard damage 10% across the board. That is very big. I mean, it feels like it's big considering that a lot of damage is usually coming from Felguard. Gloomhound's Gloom Slash being buffed by 20% kind of points into a single target buff to the new dog talent capstones, because there is the other one that does the AoE. It remains to be seen how it translates, because it's still too early to see any concrete data on it, but it's no secret that Demonology needed buffs in terms of the Warlock class, considering that Affliction is kind of like dominating everything.
Affliction is everywhere, my friend. I'm hoping to see Demonology back on top once more. Warrior, are we ready?
It's a lot of text.
You want to see? Because we have a lot of them. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. This is
go.
the main situation. Okay, so for Colossus, arterial bleed causes colossal might to increase the damage dealt by deep wounds and rend by 3% per stack. This was 2%. For Colossus, still no stranger to pain increases total damage ignored by ignore pain by 20%. This was 15%. I mean, Prot Warrior was, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Mountain Taint, lightning strikes damage increased by 25%. Ground current damage increased by 25%. Thorium's Might causes a lightning strikes to generate 3 rage. This used to be 5, so a little bit of nerf on rage generation there. Thorium's Might increases Revenge, Raging Blow, and executes damage by 25%. Used to be 15%. Slayer, Culling Cyclone bonus. Bladestorm damage reduced to 10%. This used to be 20%. Yeah, kill that Bladestorm, baby. And Opportunist now increases the damage and critical strike damage of your next Overpower or Raging Blow by 20%. This used to be 30%. Okay. So this will affect...
this is pretty much for all specs. There's a couple of things to say here. First of all, Colossus was the big DPS of at least Prot Warrior, was doing a lot of damage. And having it also give a little bit more tankiness in terms of the no stranger to pain. That's a very good thing to see. Mountain Thane on the other hand, was falling a little bit behind Slayer for Fury Warrior, so giving it more damage. That's also great. But obviously, Mountain Thane Prot Warrior is the go-to for pushing keys, and seeing the Rage nerf is probably what you would expect, considering that Prot Warrior is just dominating the tank meta right now, and it's incredibly tanky, and it should be playing Mountain Thane at the top end part of the spectrum. Slayer being nerfed, I mean, we don't know yet, because, I mean, you know, the buffs that are probably coming, maybe to offset the Slayer nerfs, because neither Arms nor Fury is destroying meters anymore. They're okay. But nerfing Slayer, which is what they used to do, a lot of the damage probably comes with a flip.
Okay, but not only that, Fury Warrior, baby. We know about this, but we'll go through them.
All right.
Anywho, so the 2-set bonus. Bloodthirst increases the damage of your next rampage by 15%. This used to be 10%.
Okay.
The 4-set, while Raging Blow resets its cooldown, the damage of your next Bloodthirst is increased by 20%, stacking up 2 times. It was 10%. Not affected in PvP. For Mountain Taint, Crashing Thunder causes Thunderclap to generate 8 rage, was 5. And still for Mountain Taint, Strength of the Mountain increases Bloodthirst and Rampage damage by 30%, was 20%. Okay. So are we looking here at a push for Mountain Taint?
It's clearly a balance in between the 2 hero talents.
Yeah.
First of all,
same page.
It's interesting because we actually have a Fury video on the works that's going to be coming in a couple of days. These are actually very good changes because first the tier set is addressing potentially single target damage profile. The thing is with the 4-set, I'm not 100% sure how this translates into Crushing Blow and Bloodbath, which is what you're playing. I think it's Reckless Abandon, the talent that gives you these 2. To my knowledge, the Bloodthirst and Raging Blow buffs do not translate into Crushing Blow and Bloodbath. Those scale differently. I'm hoping they do, because otherwise that would just push Reckless Abandon out of the meta and bring back probably Anger Management. That doesn't necessarily... I don't know if that changes the single target problem.
We
that
need
Fury
single
has.
target damage, man.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's the thing, because you're taking away the what's giving Fury a lot of single target damage and buffing the other thing. And does that give it more single target in the end? I don't know. But Mountain Thane might. If the devs want to push us away from Reckless Abandon, which is weird, like, why? We've played Anger Management for years. Then the buffs to Bloodthirst and Rampage and everything else from the tier set and from the Mountain Thane might see Mountain Thane as the maybe single target variant for Fury that you can take into raids and hopefully do competitive boss damage, which is where Fury actually struggles at the moment.
Oh, well, that concludes the class changes.
Some fat changes, dude.
Yeah. And these are all live, by the way. So
test them out.
We got them through. There's also the 11.0.5, the anniversary patch, 20 years of Warcraft. It's I would say a big patch considering everything that is coming tuning-wise, but not also that. We covered a lot of the class changes in prior shows, and I think by now people already know all of the changes they're expecting to their mains or whatever. But Blizzard has released like the official post, so we know now it is dropping on the 22nd of October with a lot of events and a lot of cool things over there. But I think most of us are probably just eager to get those tier 2s, baby. Because they're really cool.
To be fair, before you go into it, I do want to say that even though pretty much most people are talking about the cosmetics, I think they've done an incredible amount of work into bringing a lot of things to do in this event. Like they constantly release new stuff.
It's a lot of stuff.
I actually hope that. Do we know how long it will last for? Did they say?
I think it's going to be up until January, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's good because this
January 6th.
This is a fat event. I'm actually very excited for this one.
Yeah, well, you have to understand, like at this point, or rather at that point, you will most of the not race to first people or not top 100 guilds or whatever. Most of these players will be a little bit bored or a little bit on the side of, man, I kind of like doing this repetitive content now.
Yeah, it's about
it would be a good, I would say, distraction, a good extraction from the repetitiveness.
You say that, but wait until you get to raid Blackrock Deaths.
Oh, I never raided
that. You never played it.
That.
That is the best dungeon they ever made in WoW. It's
a dungeon or a raid?
It used to be a dungeon in Classic. Now it's a raid. It's a dungeon with like 20-something bosses or whatever. It's like a whole city inside of a mountain. It's amazing.
I cannot wait. But let's go through really fast. So join the 20th anniversary celebration in the Caverns of Time. Spread your wings as a new drag tier, hunter, rogue, priest, mage, warrior, warlock, ascend with a new shaman, ascendus form, and more. We'll see all that. There's more. We talked about the ascendus forms. It's not okay. So it will drop on the October of the 22nd, and it will end on January 6th. So there you go. This is going to be a long time. And it's basically at the Caverns of Time where all like these events, like anniversary events and time walking stuff tend to happen. A couple of quick facts. So earn and spend a new currency. Bronze, they love their currencies. They have this.
It never ends, man.
They have this fetish with currencies.
They need a new UI just for currency.
Yeah. So bronze celebration tokens to spend on new items for your collection. Engage in the Blackrock Depths raid dungeon. Okay, so it's a raid dungeon. Collect iconic tier 2 transmog appearance set. Hell yeah, that's what's up. Go time walking through classic World of Warcraft dungeons. Like, listen, I really want to do Dead Mines. I hope they tune it like to today's gear because I still
classic or Cataclysm version of the Dead Mines?
I don't know. I played the Cataclysm one, so I don't know.
But we'll see. I think it's probably the better one.
We'll see. Earn a new mount. Blizzard Employee Service Award cosmetics and more. Celebrate with an expanded event at the Caverns of Time. Join Chromie on a new time-bending adventure with the Codex of Chromie. Discover new secrets and solve them with guest relations. Defeat party-crushing world bosses, including the Shah of Anger. I remember this back in MoP. And Archivon, the Stone Watcher. Go back for some PvP revenge during Korak's Revenge in Alterac Valley. Celebrate 30 years of Warcraft with Warcraft 3 team pack appearances on the trading post.
Oh my god, I remember these.
We're gonna look at them. So go back to the Blackrock Depths raid. This is what you were talking about. Yeah. So this is a screen. No, it's just a screenshot from their post over there. When I first looked at this, I was like, oh my god, is that like a little Ragnarosi baby boy over there, or what is that?
I don't know what that is. That was not in the.
Well, they probably have some surprises for you, Flame. Who knows? But I think I did this at some point. They were doing this maybe a time walking or something way back when. I think I did this, but it was very easy.
It used to be the way to get to Molten Core. If you ever went to Molten Core, you went through that.
Yeah, didn't we have like the Molten Core thing back in WoD or something?
Yes, we did have the 10-year anniversary. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I did this, but it kind of goes to like link with dwarves and all of that because this Moira Bronzebeard
dwarf expansion, man.
Yeah. So it's kind of there, all right. But the true essence of this patch,
you definitely went with the judgment set, baby.
I'm gonna go through all of them, baby. So if we didn't praise this enough, this is actually this is I don't know how much we have asked for this, but like remakes of all tiers, because you remember they did that in Legion as well, like with all of the with basically all of the
I think it was even
Mage Tower.
When did they add Uther and Heroes of the Storm with the Judgment set?
Not that was like
that had to be before Legion, right?
I think so, or maybe around that time, because Heroes of the Storm launched officially in 2015. We got Legion in 2016. Regardless, look at this beauty. This is just one example, like one of the best designs they ever did, period. But it's not only that. Like, I was surprised how they did the classes that weren't at the launch, right?
You mentioned you like Monk a lot.
So we have the Death Knight here. I'm just going to zoom this.
Oh, to the left.
Onto the left, yes. This is Death Knight on the left, Hunter in the center, and Mage on the right. It's just lovely because you have everything textured up and detailed and resized and with proper proportions, and hopefully it will look good on orcs as well. But the Death Knight set, I'm really digging, man. Definitely frost themed. I would have loved to have like color variations for this to have that green.
I was actually thinking about the same thing. Does it come in red?
I think at some point they might have some sort of because it's not really that complicated to change the colors. Like
Probably
they did
not.
this, but they could
might add it
enable
as
this.
a trading posting, maybe.
Yeah, for sure they will. And if not, we're gonna write and make scandals about it. There's also the warrior Druid
Oh my
priest.
God,
We all know
warrior.
these.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, this is also the warrior one is also super
It's
iconic.
one of my all-time favorite sets.
It's very warrior-y. It's like you want to touch me, so you want to tap me on the shoulder. You might break your fingers.
You say that, but if you look, this and the Paladin sets in the tier 2 in the classic era were the most shiny ones out of all of them. They were the most recognizable because they stood out the most.
Of course.
Sure, you had druids and horns and all that, but you had horns on other pieces. But this warrior set is just so badass. It's bladey, it's spiky.
It is,
you have
man,
a
but
visor.
It's all there, but I also like the druid one as well, man.
No, that's cool. The scenario set, yeah.
It's super thematic. Not super. Never really liked the tier 2 priest to begin with. This is looking good, but they had better design sets for.
Some people probably like it. I'm not a fan of that or the mage either, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's all good. Now, also we have the monk shaman evoker. Check out the monk. I know it's a fat panda, but man, the details on that is just crazy.
They like to go overboard with their jade stuff and dragon ornaments.
Dude, this might just be like I did say like judgment set will make me like play Paladin once again.
Okay.
And this set for monks will make me play monk once again. Look at that beauty, man.
Can I make a statement? Looking at the monk set right now, I cannot help but look at the belt, and it feels like if you run with that, it will hit your neck.
Depends on what you're packing over there.
That rope feels so heavy, man. That looks so heavy. I'm just saying.
No, it's a gorgeous set for the monk. And once again, they did a super good
Shaman
job.
one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean the Shaman. We all knew the Shaman one, right?
Storm set, yes.
We're gonna properly see like all of the animations and stuff, because there are particles in there as well.
For sure.
They have the Evoker set there as well, which I'm not going to comment on because
the dragon will have a headpiece, shoulders, and a groin curtain.
All right, let's move along to the next ones. It's Warlock, Demon Hunter, and Rogue. Oh man, I cannot. So okay, Warlock is also very demony,
It's a very iconic set as well.
I mean, if it's something that says Warlock, that's
this.
it. Now
that's when the sets used to speak to you what the class is.
Yes, those sets 100%. Now I gotta say the DH1. I think this is like the biggest fail. Like
it's way too much gold, man.
And
Demon Hunters are not about gold.
I know, but okay, I can give them the gold. So everything can work decently without the chest, shoulders, and headpiece. I can make that everything else work.
Small on my screen.
But looking at that chest, looks like there's like I don't know what are those like fluffy red ribbons
for
or something.
real, I thought it was like a monk chest piece with like more. Kind of reminds me of the
weird.
beads things.
It's weird. Like, however good they did on all of the other classes that weren't there for vanilla, this is a fail in my book.
I do have to say, because I know you're gonna mention it as well, but the Rogue one is so good for a set that's been a very iconic, maybe the most iconic Rogue set
I
ever
cannot
made.
wait to
the
get
Dread
this
Fang
on.
set. The all vanilla is very iconic, but it was all just red. But how do you make that into a more modern version? You add the shades of, from what I'm seeing on my screen, green and silver on it, and don't overcomplicate it. Don't make it too flashy. This looks fucking.
I'm telling you,
this is Valera to me. This reads Valera.
For me, this is the quintessential assassination rogue outfit. This is purely what it is. Even like if you look at the Vendetta icon, it's basically modeled after the helmet, the hood. It's with the red eyes. It's with the dark cloak. That's it. It's so assassination to me. It's like 100% super W for this as well. Now, They mentioned that we're going through the classics. So take part in Time Walking event that will take you through the original version of Dead Mines. So not
so
Cataclysm.
So we know. Okay, spicy. Let's see how they tune it.
Okay, Zul'Farrak, Dire Maul, East and West Wings, and Straddleholm's Living and Undead Dungeons for epic new rewards. Queue up via the Adventure Journal or the Group Finder with players level 10 and above. These are a couple of screenshots from their post. Like, I really want to try these out once again. I remember doing this back in the day, like in Burning Crusade while leveling and stuff. I have vague memories of this, but I was playing a Red Paladin then, and that was a very much gruesome experience.
They're like, okay, so in terms of outside of Blackrock Deaths, which maybe I'm just way too biased around, these are, and Stratholm, Dire Maul and Dead Mines are probably more on the boring side. I would expect they might add something. If they don't add anything, then they're going to be fine. It's going to be a cool experience. You're going to see it. But
just something different.
Well, the cool part about it is the nostalgia that they come attached to, because I have the memories of wiping, of dying in Dead Mines, walking from Stormwind, like that, like that stuff, that's ingrained. So whenever I go back to Dead Mines, like that's gonna come back. It's like, oh, I remember this. And similar to Dire Maul, they're very long dungeons. In terms of theme and flavor, they're really cool. They're essentially what Warcraft is. They're gonna give you probably Warcraft 3 vibes, actual like old school Warcraft.
I mean, the Straddleholm and all of that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. I mean, from time to time, it's nice to go back to do these things, even if it's like,
an event,
boring.
But have actual rewards.
Yeah, true that. Earn new mount, service award appearances, and more. Okay. Blizzard employees earn special service awards during their time at the company. We know this. They get the shield, the sword.
Yeah.
Right, so we've taken inspiration from these awards to create a new mount that is fully armored in a similar style. The Cold Flame Tempest mount. This is blue flame flying mount. This blue flame flying mount takes after its fiery cousin, the Ashes of Valar, and will let you show off your own years of service to Azeroth. Interesting take. Players can also earn based on the employee sword, shield, and crown to show off in game. So yeah, those are the things that the Blizzard employees physically get.
Yeah.
Along with a version of the employee ring as a toy. Yeah, they also get the ring. So this is the mount over here. We have a little like toy with the balloons and stuff. And look at that, little baby, Doomy, little cousin, little Doomy. What else? We have a lot of pets. So the Corehound chain teaches you the Corehound. Mounts as well.
Ooh.
So the Corehound mount.
10-year for C1?
I'm not sure because they haven't shown any pictures of it. So it might be that one because it was the one with the two heads, right?
The actual Corehound, the red orange one. Yeah.
The Obsidian Wallbreaker. They teaches the Obsidian Wallbreaker mount. This one we received it in
BFA. They're bringing those back. Okay, 10-year and 15-year.
Exactly. Yes. We have the little Nefarian pet, the Molten Corgi, the Onyxian Whelpling, the Hate Spark, the Tiny, and Baby Blizzard Bear. Beautiful for people
pets.
who enjoy those. Okay, join the celebration at the Cavern of Time. This year's celebration event has expanded, and the Bronze Dragonflight have taken the activities just outside the Caverns of Time with various new and exciting things to do. Show off your transmog at the Fashion Frenzy stage hosted by Altair. I don't know how to say that. Mount up to match Abigail Cyril Doctor.
Put more vowels in it,
at the Mount Mania Arena and show off your mount collection. Join Lorewalker Cho at the Storyteller stage for an epic tale you can't help but join in on. Take a photo with guildmates, venture to epic vistas, disguise yourself as your pet, cosplay as famous heroes or villains, skate on the ring, or take a balloon for a lazy ride around the event space. I actually did that on the PTR. You click on the balloon, just fly like an idiot. There's plenty to see and do as you join in the celebration in Tenaris, and it's available to players at level 15 and above. New world bosses. Oh man, I remember farming this so much. This is the... Okay, so there are gate crashers at nearly every party, and so that's true for our anniversary celebration. We're bringing back some classic world bosses, including Doomwalker, Azuragos, Lord Kazak, the Dragons of Nightmare, along with a couple of additional party crashers in the Sands of Tenaris, the Shaw of Anger, and Archivon the Stone Watcher. I mean, these all are going to be spawned in the zone, right?
Yeah.
With everything. So this is going to be cool. I love the fact that it's all going to be super compact over there, like with the Caverns of
Always
Time and
something
Tenaris.
busy.
Yeah, something, it's going to be a very busy hub over there. Players can join in bouncing them out of the celebration beginning at level 15 to earn some great rewards and anniversary currency. So basically, almost all of the activities on the event will give you that currency for you to get
That's
your
good.
tier 2s. Okay. The Codex of Chromie. So Chromie is up for any challenge, but due to her unique role, she has not kept her codex in order. When asked to put together time hours of opening the Ankiraj gate, she's discovered things that are in jumble.
Okay.
She'll need help from Azeroth's heroes to put things to rights once more and set out of place enemies in the sands of Silidus back to where they belong. Players can queue up using the group finder or this 10 to 20 player scenario beginning at level 15. So it's an Ankiraji situation going on over there.
This is something I also missed, the opening of the Gates of
Oh
Ankh.
yeah. Well, I only heard stories about that,
Servers
but
broken,
yeah.
everybody. Yeah, that was a cool time.
Okay, so help wanted with guest relations. This was described
So we worked
earlier
down
on.
there.
Yeah, basically we are Blizzard employees. So often a thankless job, guest relations has a new volunteer, Alex, stepping into the role with with the lofty hopes of doing a better job than their predecessor. As visitors pour into the celebration, Alex is under pressure and could use a little help making it an event to remember. Thankfully, they have found the secret slithering Tuskar family, who have become the perfect helpers in getting players up to speed with the tools of the secret trade. Assist Alex each week with resolving new guest mysteries by using your new secret fighting skills and be on the lookout for stolen celebration goods. I mean, this sounds silly as fuck, but I'm guessing some people...
secret finding skills.
People will enjoy this
All right.
regardless. Follow the rumors and solve the mystery if you can. We're counting on new secret finders. I bet she's talking to you, man.
Probably.
Players can begin working on the initial secrets beginning on October the 28th, with additional secrets opening up on November 4th. This is very reminiscent of that the secret stuff when they did that in Dragonflight, I remember.
I've done zero of that.
I would have expected you to do more, Flame. What's wrong with you? And the Warcraft 3 stuff. So 30 years of Warcraft with the trading post, right? So this is going to be awesome. Celebrate 30 years of Warcraft, not World of Warcraft, Warcraft with November's trading post. Players will be able to fill this month's bar to earn 4 epic back appearance shields representing the factions of Warcraft 3, Orc, Human, Night Elf, and Scourge. And for those who play Warcraft 3, these were very iconic.
Oh yeah, it was the logo for each race.
And you was seen on the loading screens and stuff.
In the campaign, yeah.
Yeah, this
so
is
good.
basically, you have to get these if you're any Warcraft fan whatsoever. It's just,
This is
the logos.
the best remake of Warcraft 3 that they've done.
Yeah, this is better than the whole Warcraft 3 Reforged
This is the only remake of Warcraft 3 that they've done.
Yeah, this is beautiful, and again, they're paying homage.
That's pretty cool. I wouldn't have expected this from.
Yeah, me neither. It was like when I seen the post, like, oh, I didn't know about this. This is actually pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and oh yeah. So people's favorite race, the Drag tier, now spread their wings to new classes. So undertaking one of these new classes as a Drag tier will allow you to choose between fighting as a Drag tier or fighting in Visage form by activating Visage, which switches you between forms. You can additionally choose to toggle on Chosen Identity, which will automatically shift you into Drag tier form when entering combat and Visage form when leaving combat. Drag tier Evokers will continue to use Drag tier form during combat, as many of their abilities emphasize their draconic nature. With the addition of new classes to Drag tier, we're making some further adjustment to their racials. Now, the new classes you can play as Drag tier are Hunter, Rogue, Priest, Mage, Warrior, and Warlock. No Paladins.
But you feel so bad about it.
Oh
to
yeah,
be honest.
exactly. I mean, for all the people who enjoy Drag tiers, I guess hooray! I'm not really that interested in it, and yeah, that's just a brief of like the Blizzard post that went out a couple of days ago. I think for the most part, the October 22nd drop is like pretty spot on. This was data went quite a while back,
Yeah.
and it's like, what is it, like 2 weeks from now, almost two weeks, we're gonna have this.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks. And it's gonna be. We're probably gonna still be pushing mythic progression. So
it's gonna
that's
be a
all good.
while, man. Like we were definitely gonna do this for Christmas and things like that.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely there, and I think they thought through all of this. With the guy's gonna be bored at some point. Let's give him something to do. Also, I do believe that there. This is speculation territory, but maybe somewhere around that time we'll actually see a reveal
of the
11.1 patch.
Yeah.
Yes, because if they do not do that, we're gonna have a problem. Now, just to close it off, shortly, because we can do speculation videos on this all night long. 11.1 will 100% have to fix Mythic Plus. I mean, that should be the top priority.
That's a very hot take. You would believe. Okay, there's a lot of reasons for you to believe that, because they have addressed critical issues with the game a bunch of times, and they have done so unexpectedly, I would say. I do think that Mythic Plus cannot survive in the way that it is. It has incredibly negative backlash from the community. I see people in chat right now. I think Percy mentioned it as well. It's been one of the most boring Mythic Plus seasons ever. I see this said in our streams. I see this said in our comments on YouTube, on Reddit, on Twitter, everywhere. This is not a surprise. We expected people to have problems with Mythic Plus since we've tested it.
We warned you. We warned you.
It says, listen, you're gonna have a harder time. We didn't expect people to really dislike it this much, but backlash, some animosity is not surprising at all, and it's like. It feels like they're disconnected from the game. I do believe that it has come to our attention that a lot of the devs are actually very, very high key pushers, which is fine. That's great, but that's not the majority of the player base.
Yes.
We've done videos on, and even Radar.io has this great section where you can see the percentage of people that play Mythic Plus and how many of them actually clear plus, or the old plus 20s and things like that. Spoiler alert, it's less than 1% of the people, and the Mythic Plus system seems to be geared towards those kind of players. And even those kind of players, if you listen to the top key pushers, they're not.
No,
they're not.
It's different worlds when it comes to like how the end game is being played. Okay, so there's like obviously a very niche crowd that is actually pushing keys higher and higher. There's bigger niche that is trying to do high keys but it's failing, and I think like for the most part, like for the biggest crowd, they're not really affected by the Mythic Plus thing. Okay, so the biggest crowd, from what I can see, and I actually seen Austin from Skill Up do a review on World Within, and he's like super casual boy. I mean, he's not like, he's maybe doing a normal raid because he gets back into the game once every expansion launches, right? And he said that the best thing he ever saw in WoW were delves, right? And and so you gotta imagine the biggest player base is doing that type of content. Okay, now this doesn't mean we have to ignore what the hell is happening with Mythic Plus.
It's an end game system, and it's not like it's this is just an extra stuff. No, and it evolved past that. It is a pillar of the end game right now. It's been that way for like a couple of expansions.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues. So we're not talking only about like the dungeons or the tuning or the one shots or the tank busters or the.
It's a big package.
It's a big package. Like we can talk about the crests and gearing and loot tables and how everything is gated and how you are capped, and there's so many things to talk about. We're probably gonna have to like do a dedicated episode of wrap up. We're just talking about all of the issues we feel could be addressed. But in any case, if they're going to announce anything related to 11.1, I really hope that they make good on their word prior to the War Within launching, and saying that, you know, Mythic Plus will be a lot more about consistency, not about spikes in damage, and not have that much pressure on healers and not have that much pressure on tanks. Currently, it's the opposite.
That's such a big thing to unpack, because obviously whenever you make some of the most rarest roles in the game have a harder time to play, then you're just gonna make it very hard for people to essentially just play that type of content.
Yes.
Thankfully enough, we're privileged that we're just, you know, have our own pre-made that we always do keys with, so we don't usually engage in that part of the negative part of the content.
But you will do bugging and stuff. It's gonna happen tomorrow on the stream.
A little bit today as well, and it didn't taste that well, let me tell you. But the problem is, and something that we've talked about it before, WoW is not supposed to be a difficult game. That's not the player base, right?
It has to be, but it has to be, because you cannot like unmake.
No, I'm not saying it cannot be
history.
difficult, but I'm saying that it shouldn't be this difficult. This is just a very punishing content. This is just very difficult content, and a lot of people like that. Then that's fine. But this is not the game where you want to find that content. And Dragonflight proved it right for everybody, and we did a video on it as well. What is it? Season 2, where the 10.2 basically had the most amount of people doing Mythic Plus that ever have been.
Was that in season 4?
That was a Mirdrasil. There was a 10.2 a Mirdrasil, not season 4. There was a Mirdrasil when dungeons were the easiest they've ever been.
Oh, yeah.
Viewing was the fastest it has ever been.
Yes.
And it's is it a surprise? And people have done the most amount of keys. You could say that, oh, that's boring. I like my stuff to be hard. Fair, but numbers don't lie. Even the top end players have done the most amount of keys at that point. And WoW has transitioned for a longest time, and it's been, set in stone that it is an alt-friendly game, especially with the warbands right now. And even if you gear super fast and you're like, oh, but I don't want to be geared that fast, you just end up playing alts, and that's probably what most people end up doing in that particular season when everything was more popular, way more popular than it is now.
Case in point, that's what happened in 10.2, and hopefully it can repeat in 11.1. Now we can look a little bit at the comments. I've tried to look at some of it. I didn't really catch them all, but if there's some that we've missed or anything like that, this is how we usually do it. But now since I'm going to see chat, I'm going to like pause and look at a little bit.
I'm gonna snooze some of these Twitch ads because I've seen them and I caught them way too late. I wanted to kind of snooze them a little bit so that you guys can catch us while we talk, but. This is the nature of the beast.
It is what it is.
If you have any questions for us, guys, we have a couple of minutes at the end of the show where we, just do kind of like a hypothetical, a one-on-one with you guys. So fire them up and let us know. I won't tell you my sizes.
I've seen something from Tiny. It is a hot take that I don't mind it at all. My biggest annoyance is that Green Batol has a massive loot pool. Is it Green Batol he's referring to?
Probably that's GB, right? Yeah,
that's Green Batol.
That's probably an issue because somebody was saying something similar today that Necrotic Wake has the worst loot pool out of all of the dungeons, so there's like no incentive to ever do that dungeon. That is a big oversight when it comes to balancing the dungeons out on their end. And I definitely see. So here's the thing, Tiny, because this is where I can meet you halfway. I kind of like difficult content. I like that there's always a challenge, something to push myself more. We are both no strangers to difficult and high-skilled games. We loved when WoW was very hard with the Mage Tower. We play other high-skilled games and things like that. But I feel like the way they do it in WoW is like the unfun kind. And I always love to push things, but right now it feels like tanks are overly punished. It feels like if I don't play a particular spec, like how we are right now, we're all like 4 or 5 DPS players and no tanks and no healers. And maybe that wouldn't have been a problem if we can just find the tanks and the healers outside of, playing with Tiny and Paravel every now and again, and Arja and Cabal and so on. But outside of those situations, we kind of have to wait 30 minutes to find one.
Yeah, and it's basically like, remember back in Dragonflight, there was no healing incentive. Now you don't have no tank incentive and no healing incentive, so it's pretty bad. I mean, I get it why Tiny would be okay with it, and like for the most part we're okay with it as well. But you cannot really neglect like all of the issues combined with it, because it's not only the dungeons themselves, it's not only the loot table. There's the whole system of it and how it works and it progresses. And yeah, I've seen
it starts to feel unfair.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments?
Healing.
I catched one.
Healing feels weird as fuck right now. Healing is weird because it started with Dragonfly where it was very punishing.
It was
and
very weird.
Yeah. But then they said that they don't want that.
Yeah, the problem with healing, indeed started, it kind of had a slow start, but it kind of reached its tipping point in Dragonflight where you would have like a multitude of panic moments and you have to like be very, very on your toes all the time because HPs will just drop like from 100 to nothing, right? And they kind of acknowledged this. They talked about it during the development of the War Within and actually made statements that they'll fix this. And it didn't happen. If anything, it's a little bit worse now. And it's not only that. The problem with the healing is the fact that there's like, again, different million mobs with different million casts that hit very hard in different aspects, AoE damage. Some mobs are non-CCable. Some mobs like this whole, again, it's a system within a system that affects mainly the most important two specs right now in the Mythic Plus gameplay, which is the tank and the healer. If it feels weird or not fun at this moment, it's because they really didn't keep to their word on making sure that it's not going to be about, punishing moments from 100 to 0, but it's going to be more about consistency and maybe prepping, and let's call it maybe a strategic preparation type game style rather than, oh shit.
Yeah. So a question for you to address this and for chat as well. If they keep damage, healing all the same, but they just double everybody's HP. The party members, not the enemies. Double everybody's HP and that's it. No other change. How would that feel in terms of like what damage is coming and what you can dish out in terms of healing? Because I feel like that would solve a lot of the problems.
I don't know if you're gonna double the amount
It's
of
just
HPs at
like a
least.
number.
Yeah, I get it. It could be a solution that's like that, but that would be like a fast band-aid type stuff because you won't feel the impact when you have like double HP pools. At least for a healer, you won't feel that impact. Like your heals would be super smallish all the time, and you're gonna be like sweating out heals.
You cannot have it both ways. You cannot have
Yes, you can.
no
Flame.
burst.
Everything is possible both ways. Yin and yang, motherfucker.
You cannot have it both ways where you also are feeling impactful with your heals and not also burst healing at the same time. Because if you have the power to burst heal, then we go back into the issue that Dragonflight had where healers were too strong. So in order to keep healers on their toes, they had to increase the damage that everybody took, which made the defensives way more important than actual healing. So you either lived or live with 100% HP or died with 0. There was like very little in between that healers could actually heal, as opposed to if you look at BFA numbers where it took a long time for you to lose your HP, but also took a long time for you to heal a full HP bar. So you were engaging with your spec, with your healing spells a lot more.
No, I think
you casted a lot more stuff.
Yeah, I think instead of like doubling the HP, maybe when they do their item level squish and number squish, they have to go like really hard with it. Like at one point they have to just bite the bullet and maybe have a couple of like disgruntled people saying, I don't feel I'm doing damage anymore or killing anymore, but lower it down to like not 400 and something 1 million HP. No, max HP in midnight, let's say, will be a tank will have 1k HP.
Oh
those
my
numbers.
god, the classic numbers.
Yeah,
wow.
so sort of like the classic numbers, and then like when you have like a proper resale like that, it's gonna be much more easier number-wise and database-wise to have proper tuning and balance. Ability. Numbers from mobs, then healing numbers from healers, cooldowns, impact, all of the percentages. You gotta understand, it's very hard to like balance everything within a dungeon scenario because of the huge amounts of information the database of WoW contains.
Yeah.
Like all of the procs, all of the gear, and all of that is always calculated on bigger and bigger numbers all the goddamn time. It's very difficult to like tone it down and have it work properly and make this maybe cope thinking that, man, okay, we're gonna have like more consistently and not less spiky. It's very hard to do when you're talking about millions of numbers on HPs and added on top of that with all of the external stuff that's coming in.
That's the number being ridiculous is not something necessarily new, and it doesn't feel real to say, oh, I've done 3.5 million damage on a pack. What does that mean?
That's the biggest problem they're facing.
And I think we're actually seeing the results of the game being over-designed, which is something that people have been saying. I know Asmongold is famous for saying this as well, and I cannot help but feel, it's been like that since BFA, I feel, where everything is just way more complex. When you pop your rotation and you go into your cooldowns, you see 15 numbers on your screen and you only press 3 spells. So it's just a little bit more, and that's like an extreme example. But
it's very extreme. I don't want that.
When you put that to a spectrum where we have right now, then it just like so much stuff is going on that it's almost impossible to balance everything out, considering that we're probably going to get more specs and more classes in the next couple of expansions.
No, I would also add to the fact that like when you have all of these items, okay, you want to have like interesting items all the time in dungeons, specifically trinkets or weapons with different effects and so on and so forth.
That's also an extra stuff.
Yeah, I think that could be toned down a bit, okay? Instead of like simplifying too much how you play your spec or your class, whatever, maybe simplify or tone down the effects and the chances and the procs and the RNG from external items. That would be a solution on top of like making everything, because okay, it's boring to get stat sticks, but at some point somewhere a compromise needs to be made.
True,
right?
but
So-
we've also been in that situation with BFA where we've had our bags filled with stack sticks that we just rotated.
Yeah,
on,
but BFA also had super effects.
yeah, but that's the thing, and we
You cannot have all of them.
We didn't like it. So where you're
And you also had Titan Forging. Don't forget about that.
True, but that's the thing. That's exactly what I'm saying. So we've already been in that position where our classes were over designed and had a lot of stuff going under the hood, and our items were simple. I think, for instance, in terms of playing an RPG, I like my Spy Master's trinket. I think like it's a unique trinket that changes my playstyle and how I approach a game. It's one of its kind. I don't need 15 trinkets like that.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Tone it down, not in the sense that make trinkets simple. Just have a couple of items that are maybe very rare, okay, and have this very flavorful and RPG-ish element to it with effects and all so on and so forth. But have a lot less, because right now, especially during a season where people are still gearing up, you have a million different type of trinkets and weapons and enchants and all of that.
Embellishments could probably go away, because that's another external source of little procs, little things that just clutter the screen.
Yeah, there's a lot that could go away. I'm not saying it, you know, you don't want to kill professions now after they made it good.
I don't know. Trinkets wouldn't be the first thing I would hit with a bat.
No, it was just an example. Just make a smaller amount of them, because there are plenty of them with a million different effects, and not everybody's like using them as their best, but they have nothing else to look for currently, and you're gonna have all of those numbers as well, trying to figure out.
A big influx of
it's
clutter
big
a
calculations with the
like
database.
You can keep, let's say, as much as you don't like it, your transmitter and my Spy Master, but remove stuff like, every trinket procs a little bit of extra damage, right?
Yeah.
Everything has to be that way. Not everything has to be that way.
But overall, I don't know. This was an answer to somebody saying something.
Yeah, this was probably a thing. Bigger numbers make balancing easier. Otherwise, they'll have to go into fractions. They don't calculate these numbers. It's not about the. Okay, bigger numbers is very relative. It's a very abstract thing to say. Because 100 is way bigger than 10, 1,000 is way bigger than 100, but 10 million is also way bigger than 1,000. So where do we draw the line?
It's not about the fact that they have to like split numbers to make balancing more correctly. It's about the fact that the WoW database right now is so convoluted and overloaded with all of these millions and millions of numbers. They cannot possibly do something where they would fix and tune properly all of the different components that are happening within a dungeon. Like when a fight is happening in a dungeon with mobs that have their cool spells and their calculations, and then they have to fight off your armor, your trinkets, your damage, your absorption, your healing. When that is being calculated constantly on the spot by the millions, that's going to be a very rough job to balance. Like when I'm saying like to lower the numbers, is just make it, put some ease on the database so it's easier to work with. I'm sure that they could do this a lot more easier. And you know, I'm just gonna confirm it. Like one of the things that I talked with Ian about at the Gamescom press event, it was that about this, and he basically agreed. He did say that this would be a very hard thing to do, but yes,
they've done it like
he basically said that it would be, everybody would have a much easier job to balance stuff out and design stuff if numbers were a lot less smaller. But he always put in front the fact that, you know, people always want to feel the power. I know I'm the same way, but at some point people have, you know, the bullet will have to be bitten. So
yeah. Otherwise we turn into not seeing 10 million, seeing 10 in an M.
Yeah.
And
the Diablo problem.
How many frames do you have on Ansurek when the waves
exactly,
right? So that's also a part of this issue.
Yeah. Okay, let's talking about making.
That was a big segue. That was a very big segue.
Short answer, long answer. All right. So is this?
I think they would make. I think they should make professions good without having embellishments.
Oh,
there's
yeah, sure.
Okay, so the reason I addressed embellishments was basically because embellishment is just another source of a proc. It's just some extra stuff. So you have an embellishment that procs some versatility. You have a neck that the Bis neck from Sikran that also procs versatility when you're getting healed. You have a trinket that accumulates stacks and then you're using it to get a bigger proc. You have another trinket that sends you to China to pick it up and do more damage. And then you have your tier set, and then you have your talents, and then you have this. Just it ends up being a big bucket that you keep filling until it starts to spill over, and it's been spilling over, and that's why you probably see when you get low frame rates. It's that plus everything else in the game. It's basically what I mentioned before when I say the game is over designed. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And we've been on both ends. Like, it's not necessarily bad because we're always complaining, right? In BFA, we complained that the items were too simple. Now we're complaining that the items are too complicated. The problem is somewhere in between, and that balance is kind of hard to hit. But as long as we keep aiming for it, we might end up hitting it eventually.
Well, all right. So we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, but it's pretty much it from what we see.
Good, solid 2 hours of the WoW wrap-up show.
Sexy.
I hope you guys enjoyed as we went through all of it. Sorry if we didn't catch all of your comments or questions or whatever. It's gonna get better as we both gonna have like chats opened up. Hopefully we catch most of you, if not all of you, next week on the next wrap-up. Who knows what will show up in the news?
Maybe more spicy stuff.
Yeah, definitely spicy stuff. But thank you so much, guys, for chatting, for laying down your thoughts, for subscribing. I think we saw all the subscribers. Hopefully,
yeah. Thank you very much for all of the love. Well, I think we got everybody, and if not, we still love you.
All right, hold on. There's another question here for Matt Blade. I think between DK and Paladin, what you enjoyed the most, and you're suggesting for alt. Well, I would definitely tell you DK.
Man, how the times have changed.
Yes, I mean, I was like Paladin main, like all the time I played Paladin. I just feel like it's almost there to get me back into it, hopefully by hero talents. But if you want a spec that is easy to get into, but then hard to master because it goes really in depth and there's a lot of stuff you have to be aware, I would go for DK. Unholy is the one that I would recommend because it's my favorite. But if you don't have the time or the patience to get really nitty gritty into it, Frost is also good, and Frost is doing amazing, like giga damage, and it's, I would say, easier than Unholy. Not in the sense that it's boring, in the sense that you don't really have to go that much under the hood, right? So yeah, now with this, we're definitely closing. Hope that got your answer, man. See you guys tomorrow on tomorrow's stream with Flame. And tomorrow's video is melee meta for the M+, which is interesting.
Also, tomorrow's stream will start a little bit later than usual, but it will feature a big rat and trying to get pugs to do my keys.
All right. Cheers, everyone. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.